Afternoon, everyone. We have a short survey which we'd like you all to take. It'll take only a couple of minutes. The slide is sharing the link here for you. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining the webinar today. We're going to be looking at a discussion on the aspects by which e-learning can help building leaders and managing talent. I do see a few of our old participants here, and welcome again, and a few new ones. Amal, welcome to you as well. Nice to see you here. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, I'd request you to write it on the chat window on the side. We will be having the last about 10 minutes for a questionnaire session. During the webinar, please stay on mute, just in the interest of the entire presentation. And of course, the presentation will be made available to you, so you can download it from our website. In case you have any suggestions or questions later, you can email me directly. My email is mentioned here. Do feel free to reach out. So welcome once again, and before we see what's in store for us the next 1 hour, I would like to go on record and mention this officially, that this topic is very close to our heart, particularly for my company. The reason being, the reason being 24x7 is a premier e-learning solution organization, which we are offering that align with talent development needs, and to a large and fast-growing organization. So we've made our footprint present in about 35 countries, over 12 years of experience, and we've touched about 2.5 million learners so far. The traditional learning, as we like to call it, has undergone a lot of change, and we can see that today, where the Gen X, which is also being referred to as the next gen, has helped in bringing about this change, actually, where classroom trainings have been welcomed, and we have welcomed the e-learning modality. So let's look at what we're going to look at today. The reason we can also talk about these things, the leadership and building leadership and talent management, is because we follow that approach with our clients, and we've taken it to a different level. So we have consulting, technology expertise, and implementation services. So we're talking about initiating and start-to-end solutioning for a client, which starts with consulting on the right type of modules or a gap analysis, etc., and going on to showing the ROI and post-implementation support, building a culture, etc., etc. So our agenda today: how technology-based learning provides leadership development, and how technology-based learning can be at every level, how talent management strategy creates high-performing workforce, and also creates high-performing, and the strategy that it involves. In looking at that, Okay. So why is leadership all important? Leadership is increasing as a percentage of training delivered in many organizations. Learning professionals are also identifying with leadership development being one of the most challenging issues. More than succession planning, measuring ROI or talent management. Why do companies give it such a high priority? Leadership development is also associated with many positive business benefits, and we can see these as mentioned over here. The financial return, employee satisfaction, retention, positive reputation, ease of recruiting desirable employees, strategic advantage, productivity and faster resolution of problems, continuous innovation, and organizational agility. Drivers for performance throughout the organization. The higher the leader and the broader the scope of his or her responsibility, the greater the leverage the individual can exert. So while it is difficult to measure exactly how much leadership development programs may contribute to something like a financial return, it is generally accepted that good leaders produce high-performing teams that produce better results. Demographic shifts are also forcing many companies to reevaluate their leadership development efforts. So within about with 76 million baby boomers planning to retire in the next 10 years, there will be a significant impact on the leadership pipeline, and it can be expected that the cost of recruiting and retaining talent managers is going to increase. Making matters worse, with the number of qualified candidates is decreasing. The number of management jobs projected is actually to increase by about 17%. It's a little surprised, therefore, that organizations are actually willing to increase the resources applied to developing leaders from within. As we can see that there's a lot lacking in leadership over here. The repercussions of poor leadership are also extremely high. Taking a lot at the people impact of poor leadership. Poor leadership has a number of impacts on an organization. As it can affect the output both directly and by mismanaging resources, and indirectly by not taking the best out of the organization members. According to British researchers Kelly, Swartz, and Francis, the poor issue of quality leadership has been the center of various studies since about early 1960s, proving its influence on employees' performance as well as on their mental and physical health. Speaking at a moral drop, so leaders who do not inspire members of an organization nor prove their ability to rational and accurate administration can be the reason of low morale between individuals. This can subsequently lead to lack of discipline or the will for employees to give their best. So it's lack of the motivation primarily. Survey which was done between the employees of Arizona Department of Public Safety, actually published in the East Valley Tribune in about, I think it was in May 2011, showed how leadership can have such an effect as from the employees who reported their morale was as low as, 67% identified the director as the main factor, and 17% blamed outside factors such as budget cuts, etc. So cliched, remark that people don't leave organizations, they leave managers. And a cliche is cliche because it's primarily true, and talks in good stead here. The physical impact. Again, there's been some study done in this space with sources of work stress, where again the British researchers have actually gone ahead and spoken about the physical effects of poor leadership. The report focused on the increase of both types of blood pressures of the people in, nurses when they work with supervisors that don't type, amplifying the risk of, failures of heart or we call it a stroke. In the same study, the researchers also associate poor leadership and the subsequent work stress various other diseases that can be formed. Resource mismanagement. Poor leadership skills not only have an effect on employees' performance, but also on the administration tasks. Managing resources, keeping a record of organizations' income and expenses, as well as managing the human resources such as how the shifts are scheduled, or good leadership skills. Without these, the organization can face problems such as financial deficit, lack of raw materials, and even low productivity because of an employee fatigue. And this is how we spoke about, like we mentioned earlier, that financial return. So that's where you can see the impact of it coming back to, with the resource management. Lack of motivation. According to Integrity Training Institute, one basic type of leader is also called the buddy, who will focus on being nice to the employees. Such leaders avoid confrontations and disregard negative issues, such as behavioral and performance problems. They can lead to lack of motivation on employees' behalf to try their best, since there is no penalty for being below average, on neither are there any repercussions or rewards for the top performers. So developing the leadership pipeline becomes an extremely important and a vital role in an HR functionality. So what could be more crucial to your organization's performance than the choice and cultivation of future leaders? Then why do traditional succession plans so often fail? The reason for that is because great leadership at the top of organizations actually begins in the middle, where your high potential managers acquire the broad range of skills they need to succeed in more senior roles. You build strong leadership bench when you practice succession management, combine it with leadership development and comprehensive process for grooming for the future leaders and at all levels of the organization. Effective succession management comes when you adopt a talent mindset. Take time out for in-depth talent assessments. These are a few things which can actually be looked at. Differentiate between strong and weak performers. Give challenging assignments to even high potential managers. Developing your leadership pipeline is labor intensive. The rewards of your efforts. The right skills at the top and everywhere else in your organization. Focusing on development. We'll be looking at a couple of things which actually go on in developing the leadership pipeline. So integrate succession planning, leadership development to ensure that you know what skills future leaders need, as well as how they can learn from them. Pair classroom training with all important work experiences that solve real organization problems while enhancing budding leaders' general management expertise. Identify the linchpin positions. Determine which middle to senior management positions, such as regional manager, are essential to your organization's long-term health. Keep a full pipeline for those linchpin positions by regularly identifying high potential candidates. Then increase their leadership skills by giving them linchpin assignments coupled with team support, training, and or mentoring. Thank you, Suresh. Thanks a lot. And Suresh actually just mentioned something about the leadership pipelines. Thanks a lot. Sorry, coming back. So we were talking about identifying the linchpin positions. So we were talking about the mentoring piece as well. Also regularly evaluate performance of linchpin incumbents to determine potential for even more challenging assignments. Basically raising the bar at every given point. So let's take an example for that, since you were just asking if we could talk more on that. In an organization, the plant manager is primarily the linchpin position. So division, VPs, HR heads assess all plant managers' performance and promotion potentials, for example, all-day off-site meetings. They design challenging assignments for its best plant managers. It offered one of the managers who had risen through the ranks at a very successful plant the opportunity to turn around a struggling plant. So this is primarily giving them a more challenging position and a challenging role, which helps them build and capitalize further. Sure. Lakshmi would like us to go through the previous slide again, so we'll just quickly do that. Lakshmi, would that be all right? So, can you just give me a minute? Okay. So just coming back to focus and development, we'll take a quick look back again into the focus and development for the leadership pipeline. We were talking about, actually, if we come here, actually we were referring to developing the leadership pipeline as we go along. And one of them primarily being the focus on development of the leaders, or rather the management. So what we were trying to say here is that we integrate succession planning with the leadership development such that it ensures that the skills the future leaders need, as well as how they can learn them. So a classroom training is all good, a module is all good, providing them access to the e-learnings is all good. What we also want them to learn at this point is, which is extremely important, is the work experiences that solves the real organizational problems. So knowledge is one thing, having the knowledge is one thing, and how do we imply and implement the knowledge is all another ball game altogether. So getting into situations which could be a little sticky situations, how do you imply and apply all the knowledge and the information that you have? And this is done enhancing builders, budding leaders generally, management expertise. Okay, so Suresh has a thought here where he's mentioned actually when we shared the example on the next slide of identifying linchpin positions. So he's actually had an interesting thought. So I'm just going to share that with everybody, Suresh. I'll just put it up here in the chat window for all of us. And that's one from Suresh. Thanks, Suresh, for that input. So, moving on. Make it transparent. So what exactly are we talking about here? We create a strong leadership bench when you openly tell managers where they stand on performance and potential ladder and what they need to do way in advance. To make a succession management process more transparent, one can consider web-based sessions management tools that allow easy and secure access to information for developing leaders and the managers. We've seen that in a lot of organizations and in my experience as well, that there is so much of secrecy of data at times that it actually makes us wonder that, the analysis that we do with the limited access to data is even going to make any sense, and more often than not, it does not. Because if we don't have a clear picture of the entire functioning, we cannot be expected to give an accurate gap analysis, or even for that matter, to figure out a transition where we can show a little bit of success in the entire project. So that's something we've experienced and we've seen in a lot of organizations where secrecy becomes very vital, whereas a lot of financial BFSIs need that secrecy. However, if we're expecting an individual to go on to the next role and take on something, it's the best. And we've seen that in the past in one of the experiences that I've had when I was working with the financial sector. We actually, it was absolute operational data and client-sensitive information, But if we expected the individual to take on to the next level, the first thing that was done was given access to everything that's going to help in the smooth functioning of that role. So those are ways, means in which these things can really help. So measure the progress regularly, and I think as L&D professionals, all of us are at all times looking at something like this. Measuring is something we should, is end of day the for goal for all of us. So development is the way, whereas it may be a long-term process. So it's important to know whether the right people are moving at the right pace or to the right jobs at the right time. Measurement helps you see where the pool of candidates is shallow or and when the number of attractive jobs is limited to retain the highest potential managers. It actually tends to expose the gaps in the leadership pipeline. So the metrics that can actually be used are how many important positions have been filled with internal clients. So that's one thing that HR could be looking at. Or how many succession plans have 2 or more ready candidates that are available right now. Or how many of the same employees are ready now candidates on more than 3 different succession plans. So these are 3 things that we could keep in mind. Yes, thanks, Suresh. So I think we said in the initial start of the webinar that how is technology going? So let's take a look. Leadership development takes very different forms at different levels in an organization. At lower levels, which is at beginner levels, junior levels, it tends to be more focused on developing basic managerial skills, and the development method or the delivery method is likely to be a blend of e-learning and classroom. At the top of the pyramid, which is executive education, focuses on a range of strategic business issues and tends to be heavily weighted towards the classroom, or it could be an outbound or experiential learning, as we call it. Executive education is reserved for the fewest employees and entails the highest cost per learner. In addition to education activities, leadership development often entails a number of experience-based and relation-based elements. So, for example, stretch assignments are used to help employees develop necessary skills that may not fall in the range of their current responsibility. Suresh has also just mentioned where expansion is another area where crisis arises. So yes, that also talks about it. So the stretch assignments that we were talking about are used basically to help employees develop the necessary skills that may not be in their purview of work. Peer-to-peer coaching, especially at high levels. We were talking of mentoring. Peer-to-peer coaching is another piece. Is also an important element for many leadership programs. Technology-based training methods and tools can be used to increase the effectiveness of leadership development at all levels. Here are some of the ways that we will talk about where leading companies are using technology-based learning to improve return on their leadership, on their investment. Increasing the reach of leadership training. That's one thing technology can actually do. So leadership training is often confined to employees who can attend a classroom session. So that makes it difficult or extremely expensive to reach geographically dispersed employees. And with companies going global, this is becoming a primary challenge that all are facing today. And with the increasing mobile and global nature of workforce, this means that they are left out of a leadership training program. Technology-based learning content, such as online courses, books, videos, can actually provide basic soft skill training and authoritative information from a wide range of sources to learners on the internet with connection. However, having said that, e-learning is not a complete solution when it comes to leadership. Most training professionals acknowledge that it is more effective when combined with personal forms of instruction, whether it's physical classroom or a virtual classroom, or mentoring and coaching. Mentoring and coaching should actually be used to reinforce the concepts which are in self-study. within e-learning. This can also be extended across geographies through the internet as well. Virtual classroom technology can be used to bring together groups of learners for a more personalized learning experience. Yeah, Suresh is a very valid point. The challenge today is not really keeping up with the technology, but about developing leaders, uh, in empathy and emotional intelligence. Technology only acts as a medium, and you're absolutely right when you say that, Suresh. It acts as a medium. It makes it easy for us to access all the learners, at the same time or at different times, but across geographies. However, we shall not at any point mistaken that to be the knowledge that we're trying to imbibe or impart. Absolutely agree with that. Making leadership systematic. Companies that want to ensure a consistent approach to leadership often institute a talent management process based on a system of competency. Whether you follow the Ramcharan or whether you follow the other modules, it's absolutely different. These often align with specific company objectives and values. That is what is important. When leadership competencies are identified for all levels and job roles, they can be a systematic process for assessing all levels of employees against the competency model. Appropriate learning programs can be assigned based on the employee's role as well as the level. Competency management also gives organizations better visibility into the leadership strength and weakness and aids in a long-term planning. It can also be used to reinforce the culture of leadership at all levels. So the measurement becomes more objective rather than subjective. So we're not talking about perceptions here anymore. Making leadership training faster and more efficient. Leadership training must include the high-touch activities to be effective. Technology-based training can often be used to reach training goal quicker at a lower cost. There are numerous models for blended learning that range from very simple two-part programs to complex programs comprised of constellation of activities. One of the most common forms is to use e-learning courses as a prerequisite to classroom training, or it can also be a post. Either ways. This can shorten overall time needed for the learner to complete the learning. It also ensures that all learners arrive at the training event with a common understanding of key terms, ready to take advantage of the unique benefits of being with the other learner and a live instructor. I'd just like to share a small example, an anecdote here actually. Being in the ILT myself, and if we experience it so often, and anyone who's ever facilitated a session would know what I'm talking about, where you walk into a classroom and if it's a session of about even 15 people to 20 people, at times the level of information is so varied that it almost becomes extremely challenging for the person standing there and training and facilitating the session to get everyone to a particular level. Either it's too low for someone or it's too high for someone. That ambiguity disconnects the participants very often. So when you have a prerequisite and you're going in with a certain preparation into a training room, it makes a lot of difference. And it makes a lot of difference not only easier for the live instructor over there, but also for the participants for the engagement of participants and take away a learning from there. Thanks, Fish. Thank you. So another way that technology-enabled training contributes to efficiency is that it shortens the amount of time that employees are physically away from their job to attend a classroom session. Many employees enjoy having the ability to complete learning at their workstations on their own schedules. Many employees, they like doing that. It makes more sense to them. Online learning also offers the opportunity for learners to take classes in their off hours. That's, of course, if the inclination is there, but we've actually seen that the trending of gaining knowledge and self-paced learning has actually increased in the past few years. Skills can be assessed online prior to training, which may allow some learners to test out of certain parts of training. Shortening time away from work can be, especially important benefit and leadership training, which often involves key employees with significant responsibilities. Learning portals are one way that organizations can raise the efficiency of learning to the highest levels by giving employees quick access to a variety of learning and performance support resources. Yeah. So, again, Suresh has an extremely important point and interesting here. So I'm again going to share it with the group. Thank you, Suresh, for that. So use of experience learning and those who understand to make to slow learners understand, so that you can feel that everyone, they are engaging as fast learners. And that makes a lot of sense. Sure. Rupali would like us to go back to, I think, the previous slide, Rupali, making leadership systematic again. So we'll just quickly hop there. So coming back, we've had a request from Rupali if we could once again just skip through making leadership systematic. So we'll just take a minute and do that. Here what we were mentioning is companies that want to ensure a consistent approach to leadership often institute a talent management process based on system of competencies. And these often align with a specific company objective, or it could be values. When leadership competencies are defined at all levels and job roles, they can be a systematic process for assessing all employees against a competency-based model. Appropriate learning programs can then be assigned based on the employee's role and level. Competency management gives organizations better visibility actually into their leadership strengths and weaknesses and aids in the long-term planning. They can also be used to reinforce the culture of leadership at all levels. So, just to share an example here, Rupali, and with everyone else as well, that we've actually seen this, organizations follow the Ramcharan model, which is they'll give your job bandings A, B, C, D. And within that, they will give you levels, whether it be a 1, 2, 3, going on with all the A's, B's, and C's. What happens in that is they have very specific measurables and competencies which are specified for every individual and the role. And so it could be one particular role which has 3 dimensions to it. So one is a learner or who's new to the role. Second could be, he's moved past probably 2 years in the same role. And third is when you're preparing him for the next role. So that gives us very clear, and yes, it gives us very clear parameters for each level, and that helps us gauge who's up and ready for the next, and that helps us build the leadership pipeline. There was actually a survey and a study done across, and I'm really sorry, but I don't remember the exact numbers. It was done across in US and in China and India. The comparison was in these 3 countries, where the expectation of freshers to the promotions of their next level was ranging from 7 years to 1.5, 2 years in India. I'm not very certain if it was China was 7 years and US was about 5 years or 7 years. I'm not very certain. But the gap and the disparity was so large, where people are expecting them to get promoted in 2 years. So I, from this, want to get into a manager role in 1.5 years, in 2 years. How does that even prepare me? So the expectation of promotions and what poaching is not helping us at all in India. So where people are getting poached, moving on to different hopping organizations, getting into a different role, that's only weakening the pipeline. So what the leadership pipeline we are building currently, is it really going to be as strong as the Gen X was, is something which is very debatable right now. Most welcome, Polly. I do hope it helped. Okay, technology can be used to extend the benefits of training over time. So what happens once a session within, a class session is over? No matter how powerful the training event may have been, the knowledge and positive impact tends to fade over time. Research has shown that when learning is reinforced before and after the training event, the positive effects are greater and last longer. However, the investment in various parts of training proceeds does not reflect this. The majority of training monies that are focused on the event are very little actually goes towards the pre and the follow-up. Even if you look at the Kirkpatrick model of ROI today, training measurement, most of the organizations stick to a stage 2 and a stage 3. Where, we're talking of a feel good and we're talking of a knowledge, but where are we talking of implementation? And the organizations which actually move to implementation stay at that, at measuring. However, what about the ROI for the organization? That's the 5th stage that has become a predominant pain area for a lot of us in L&D. Yeah, Suresh also has an interesting thought here. I'd like to share that with everyone, Suresh. Thank you. Talent management strategy to create high-performing workforce. Executives and HR management have always been focused on basic talent management, which is acquiring, hiring, retaining talented employees. But to drive optimum level of success, business leaders need high engaged, high performing employees. The key to inciting a workforce to greatness is to align your talent management with company strategy. Define consistent leadership criteria across all functions and identify specific competencies, whether it could be analytical, technical, either ways, to cultivate for a continuing the business leaders who implement the best talent management processes are more prepared than competitors to compete in the global economy and capitalize quickly on new opportunities. Success is only available when companies do more than adapt to long-term trends. They must be able to anticipate and jump onto new opportunities as well before the rest of the market. A strategic talent management plan allows us to do various things. So become proactive versus reactive. I think we've had this discussion in every organization that we have ever interacted with. Proactive. We needed to be proactive. Identify essential skills to develop in all employees and minimize training costs by focusing on key development areas. And improve the recruiting process by identifying high-quality candidates using job descriptions based upon the expertise of your high-performing employees holding uniquely valued company or industry experience. Yeah. Align individual goals with the corporate strategy. Best talent management plan is supposed to be closely aligned with the company's strategic plan and overall business needs. We find very often, uh, talent management plans are not in sync with what the vision, mission, or the organization goal is. So goal alignment is a powerful management tool that can not only clarify job roles for individual employees, but also demonstrates ongoing value of the employees to the organization. So when you engage employees in their work through goal alignment, you create greater employee ownership in the organization and ultimate success. They become more committed to your organization and achieve higher levels of job performance. To achieve goal alignment in your organization, one must clearly communicate your strategic business objectives across the entire organization. By allowing managers to access and view the goals of all departments, again coming back to the secrecy part, which we generally see in a lot of organizations. Your organization can greatly reduce redundancy by doing that. Goal sharing also helps departmental heads find ways to better support each other, as well as identify areas where they may be unintentionally working at a cross purpose. So everyone working together towards the same objective, your company can actually execute the strategy faster with more flexibility and adaptability. Essentially, goal alignment strengthens your leadership and creates organizational agility, allowing managers to focus employees' efforts on the company's most important goals, understand more clearly all responsibilities associated with specific goals, and strengthen accountability by assigning measurable and clearly articulated goals that are visible company-wide. So how technology-based learning can be used at every level. As mentioned earlier, leadership training takes different forms at different levels of an organization. Companies tend to invest most heavily in training new employees and frontline managers. A survey done by Innovations Group 11 of more than about 3,000 employees found the following percentage as detailed here as well. Entry level, 86.9%. First line managers, 90%. Middle, 81%. Senior, 70%. It starts reducing. While overall, the greatest investment in entry level and frontline, the cost per learner tends to rise with the level of the organization. This reflects the different approaches taken to training at different levels. It also reflects the way that technology-based training is used, or rather, not used, at various levels again. So, how technology can be used to support middle management? Just come up with a few examples here. The time-starved executives are often resistant to traditional forms of learning, such as courses. However, they see great value in having the access to business books, summaries, video segments that can provide insight from leading business thinkers. We actually had one of our companies where our clients, where they had these short videos that they had taken from us. What they would actually do is before and after a meeting, when they had a leadership meet, the leaders would actually show it to their teams. And at times you would have an entire meeting around them because you would have change management, you would have discussion on leadership, goal setting, strategy. So anything that covers an end-to-end business need was mentioned in those videos. Looking at frontline managers, first-time and frontline managers are critical audience for leadership development training, and many companies have programs specifically designed to improve their managerial skills. Surveys have long shown that poor frontline management is the leading cause of employee attrition. Legal issues can also arise from poor performance or mistakes of the frontline managers. Leadership programs generally consist of a blend of e-learning program, classroom sessions, simulations, mentoring, performance support, with a focus on management concepts, communication, conflict resolution, coaching, and team building. Frontline managers are sometimes placed in the position of training their direct reports and team members. So tools such as virtual classroom platform can be very useful. So you have the benefits and the downsides of these. So frontline managers can actually benefit excuse me, benefit in traditional e-learning to teach basic management concepts. Simulations can be used to help managers practice new skills in risk-free environments. Online mentoring can be used to support the development of various skills. Performance support products, which could be books, summaries, videos, can be used to learn new ideas, solve problems, higher discussion with employees. Virtual classroom technology can be used to support collaboration and learning over distances. So there are certain relevant products which our organizations will offer, which could be business skill courses, talent series and business impact series, books 24/7, leadership development channels, things like that. Impacts on the individual contributor. The most effective leader often rises through the ranks to companies. Should not overlook the opportunity to begin leadership training at an early stage in the employee's career. Some companies seek to identify future managers and leaders which have high potential and put those employees on a fast track that includes more leadership training opportunities. Other companies offer leadership development more broadly, with the idea that recognizing and encouraging leadership at all levels can lead to more effective problem-solving, innovation, and ultimately competitive advantage. Surveys show that all employees want training. So it's also a factor in employee engagement and retention. Leadership training at this level often focuses on communication, project management, diversity, and team building. So again, the benefits and downsides detailed on the slide. So basically, e-learning is an excellent way to deliver development training to a large number of employees. Simulation allow employees to engage, experience, and practice skills. Topical development portals can be used to direct professionals to the most relevant material for their learning needs. Online books, summaries, articles, and videos can be used as performance support on a daily basis. So again, you have the relevant products, whether it's books, courses. So managing the change associated with introducing technology, if we build it, why will they come? I'll address each of the stakeholder groups captured in the diagram. So it's an organization, L&D, manager, end user. So let's take a look at these. So the effort and the return that we're looking at. So effort, build the imperative. Until the technology becomes part of habit, conscious effort is required of end users to remember that technology is available and to access that technology. End users must think of the solution you have given them. It is imperative to their role and or to their practice, or they will not get out of the way to access it. So how do you build the imperative? Link your solution to business objectives, workplace practice, and team and individual development plans. Managers have an important part to play here. They turn the value. Once end users access the technology, they must feel as though it was purposeful and of value to their professional development, practice, or other personal objectives. This means content must be relevant and fresh, and new information, courses, features must be made obvious to all of them. So change management from a different perspective. So talk of end users, managers, HR, and the organization. The most effective leaders often rise through the ranks. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. So companies should not overlook the opportunity to begin leadership training at an early stage in an employee period. Some companies seek to identify future managers, high potentials, etc. on a fast track with more opportunities than others can actually offer. Change management from an organizational perspective. So we look at it from three perspectives, which is analyze the hard facts, technology capability. So let's look at managing the hard facts. Become part of everyday business thinking and process. Conduct a thorough investigation and analyze to gather hard facts such as training statistics, business-driven efficiencies, technology use audits, and projections. Complete the analysis and staff workflow trends. Generally speaking, that which is measured and reported upon gets done. So be sure to align the success criteria with business and plan how this will be measured. Use your success criteria to inform your learning technology options. Technology capability. Build your relationship with IT early and become proactive in understanding the technology other than acquaintance responsibilities. Immerse in offering tools, social media platforms. Read up on usability thumb rules when making platform decisions. More often than not, IT will be happy to be consulted, but will look for clarity in relation to learning technology roles and responsibilities. From the organizational perspective, you have the culture and the climate. So take a serious look at how organizations currently perceives the following parameters. Technology. Are the users frustrated with the current technology? Is it difficult, unreliable, or slow to access? Learning. Is learning a priority in your organization? Is it talked about in corporate and informal conversations? Training function. What is the staff perception of the training function? Does it have a history of meeting expectations and business requirements? Learning self-management.
Yeah.
Are a habit of managing their own learning, or do they expect training to be handed out to them with a little personal responsibilities? Do managers encourage learning, self-governance? The current state of these four parameters will impact upon the success of e-learning strategy and implementation. So sure to assess the parameters carefully. You may need to start conversations and build relations around these parameters before actually embarking on the e-learning strategy. Build the staff excitement and need for change to the current scenario. Generally speaking, the greater the the perceived need by the staff to have e-learning, the less the effort is required to implement and sustain the change.
Yeah, Gupta?
I request everyone to be on mute in the interest of the session, please. So, functional perceptive to managing change. I do realize we are coming to the closer, so we just take about a couple of minutes more, please. So, how a learning technology strategy impacts human resources and the learning and development team and function, and how the change can be managed. Readiness to design. Just give me 1 second. Just a moment, please. So, readiness to design and develop and manage the learning strategy. Work towards striking a balance between systemized learning and the high touch of classroom learning and coaching. Work as a functional team to decide what principles will guide your decision making about how learning technologies will be used. The overall desire of e-learning should be to enhance the learner's experience and outcomes, not simply to substitute the classroom experience. Learning management system and the one-stop shop system integration separate the system administration function from training functions. The skill set is very different. Work hard to build relation, again, like we said, with the IT, HR, administrators. It's often helpful to develop a process map illustrating the relationship between system and the touch points between the learning management system and the end users. To be sure, the L&D team has a clear mental model about what the system does, how end users interact with it, and how traditional learning functions are translated in the system environment. The L&D function plays an important role as end user aggregate, helping to ensure the platform's usability from an end user perspective. Preparing managers and learners ensure the e-learning strategy ultimately frees learning and development to deliver the business the things that they never had time to do. Develop other ways for the L&D function to embed in the workplace and identify staff development priorities. Help the L&D team to identify new opportunities and interact with the managers and the staff. Lastly, coming to the manager perspective of managing change. Introducing the technology, use a roadshow or other high-touch strategies to introduce new learning technologies such as LMS or tablet to managers. Make it relevant to them. Contextualize the roadshow to issues experienced by managers, their pain areas basically. However, keep it simple and provide how-to resources for later reference. Demonstrate the efficiencies and long-term benefits of the e-learning strategy. It's best to provide an FAQ on the role of the manager as part of the e-learning strategy. The roles and responsibilities. Provide managers with the key messages why an e-learning strategy has been implemented so that they may sell the benefits to their own teams. Help managers coach staff on the skills in learning, self-management, and digital literacy. Provide strategies on how to reward positive learning behaviors and ensure managers know their role when the staff fail to complete the mandated content. So refining the implementation and involving managers early. Use focus group to requirements and priorities prior to the implementation. This keeps the interest of the managers in sync and test iterations and provide in the field feedback. So this is something that we follow, and as a team, 24x7 actually consults on the following. So these were two of the examples that we actually take to our clients, and we've seen the success of the implementation. So we start with the planning phase, alignment, blending and integration, innovation and support for the learners. So it's the internal communication and a review which is ongoing. Like we always say, measurement is the key to everything. So if you have any further questions, we'd be glad to take them. Suresh, I will just be addressing yours as well. So Suresh is a question that if in an organization learning is optional, then how would you go about to ensure that the right talented person uses the e-learning? Honestly, Suresh, not really seen an organization where learning can actually be an option today. But however, having said that, if that were to be the case, then there are two routes which one can actually take, whether it's the carrot or it's the stick. You link it to performances or you link it to appraisals, or at the same time you can have rewards and recognition. You can have a blend of the two. So ensuring that the right talented person uses it is out of the competency module. So organizations today are actually ensuring that they have the competency modules in place. So it just helps them to know who requires what type of training and does a gap analysis for all of us. There's a just sharing a feedback link with everyone. Please do share your feedback with us. So if we have any questions,